So that's two of the items. And the third, locally, is the impact that the mayoral election will have on New York City. I think you could make a very cogent argument that the reason that New York City came out of the Great Recession as well as it did, and certainly much better than most cities around the country, if not better than every other city around the country, is because we have 47, 48, 50 million tourists a year coming to New York. And while you can account for that as being a result of a very weak dollar, making it very inexpensive for foreigners to come here and making it very cost prohibitive for Americans to travel overseas, so they come to New York. A lot of people came to the city, but it's also because the city has been a great place to come. The city's clean, crime is down, and that's why when you get politicians talking about eliminating policies that that help to curb crime, it's a very delicate thing, and you want to maintain the position New York has as a place that people want to come to work in, people want to come to live here. You know, we get thousands of resumes every year, and the overwhelming majority of those are from people who live outside the New York metropolitan area that want to come work and live here.
Interesting that the mayoral, I think a lot of people view elections as doesn't really matter so much who's sitting in office. These things are sort of like boats, huge boats that just kind of move without anyone necessarily steering them. You're a lot more concerned about, you know, the impact of, especially essentially local administration on the overall business environment.
Well, I think the main reason for that is because of the real estate tax policy that the city has implemented. I mean, essentially over the last 6, 7 years, local politicians have looked at income-producing real estate in New York as an ATM machine. And when there have been holes in budget gaps, raise real estate taxes. Well, we were fortunate that Mayor Bloomberg actually put away a rainy day fund, several $billions that is now empty. So the next mayor is going to have to face budget deficit right off the bat, plus having to deal with municipal labor unions and their contracts, which none of them have contracts presently. So those contracts have to be renegotiated, and there are retroactive increases that have to be addressed. There's no money to address them with, so where are the legislators going to come up with the money to pay the bills?
And real estate taxes are something they don't need Albany approval to change, whereas city income taxes they would.
Right, and if you look at the way tax policy has gone, is one of the big concerns, particularly for my clients who own a lot of multifamily buildings, is that they've worked very hard to take advantage of the strength of the residential market by raising top-line revenue 15 or 20% over the last 2 or 3 years. But unfortunately, their bottom lines, their net operating incomes, have remained relatively flat because the increase in taxes have eroded all of the top-line revenue gains. So if you're in an environment where your net operating income is flat and interest rates may rise, and clearly there's a very long-term correlation between interest rates and capitalization rates, you're talking about a market that could very easily lose value. So, and you know, people talk about real estate taxes mainly on a taxes per square foot basis. And there's no doubt that New York should have the highest taxes per square foot because our revenue per square foot is higher than anywhere else in the country. But when you look at our real estate taxes as a percentage of gross revenue,
much higher than anywhere else.
We are more than double any other city in the country, and that's what becomes problematic. You know, I spoke at a multifamily... In
addition to higher construction costs, higher labor costs, and all those other things.
Absolutely. And I spoke at a multifamily conference in Miami a few months ago, and it was with owners of multifamily buildings from all over the country. We started talking about real estate taxes, and in Florida, real estate taxes really aren't a problem. In California, they're capped legislatively. And I was talking to one.
Lots of other problems in California.
That's a whole nother story. But and I was talking to an investor that owns multifamily throughout Texas, and he said, you know, Texas is very pro-business. Don't have a problem with taxes, except in Houston. In Houston, they're killing me with taxes for some reason. My taxes are almost 10% of my gross revenue. When I told him that taxes here are as much or over 30% of gross revenue, he almost had a heart attack. And that's something that we have to be very cognizant of. We have to make sure that we can keep the city competitive, and making sure that we don't have an inequitable tax policy, which we do have now. We can't exacerbate that problem.